We are officially 1 week removed from the NFL season being 100% over. I'm sure Eagles fans are still celebrating in the streets because of that Super Bowl. What do the Vikings have to do so we can be in that position next year? Let's talk about it. How's it going, everybody? Thank you so much for joining us on this. If you're in Minnesota on this very, very chilly Monday evening, Jamie, you lucky guy out there in the Carolinas with the nice, warm, balmy February weather. You're lucky, man.
Yeah. I mean, it's like 40 degrees here, so obviously
Good
a
enough.
big upgrade from over there, but I wouldn't say it's actually we were hitting like last week, I think we hit 60 once or twice or something like that. So technically it's still kind of cold here, but yeah. Obviously compared to Minnesota, that's why I left that place and that's why I'm not going back because that weather does suck. Before we keep going here, obviously, as you see, we're going to talk about the reasons why the Vikings could win the Super Bowl next year. I wouldn't really say I believe they're going to next year, but I really do think they're set up to maybe not next year, but the years coming after that, the next 3 or 4 years, we kind of have that window, the JJ McCarthy rookie window. We've all talked about it. We're going to get into the top 5 reasons why to not just have a chance to win the Super Bowl next year, but actually feel good about this team moving forward, which is another reason why we're going to get into Kwesi here and the idea of extending him. And then also franchise tag officially begins tomorrow where you can start franchise tagging your players. So we'll get into that as well. And then, of course, the giveaway, where, again, here on out, as far as I know, I'm going to keep stocked, but pick your giveaway. So obviously got a tons of Viking cards. We got Will Reicherts, we got Dallas Turners, we got JJ McCarthy's, we got Justin Jefferson's, we got TJ Hawkinson's, we got a bunch of different cards on here for you to choose if you win. So get the hashtag Skols in the comments, like the video, and subscribe if you aren't already. All that good stuff. Let's go through some of the comments here. We got Salih the Viking in here right away. Sup, guys? What's going on, Salih? My boy Barber in the building. By the way, your card should be on its way. Which we do have one more Kyrie Jackson as well. We gave the other one to Barber for his birthday. My guy Gary in the building. What's going on, dude? What is going on? Two-Tone. Hey, Two-Tone. I think we missed you in the last couple weeks.
Been a minute.
Has been a minute. Hey, Adam in the building. What's Bob Swede? Hey, we got Steve back. Your card's on its way. Some of all you Packer haters. There's a lot of things I am and I am not. But one thing for sure I am is a Packer hater. Like when it comes to the Packers, like it's like in my normal everyday life, like just like you're supposed to, you try not to be like a hater in everyday life. Like I try not to be a jealous person in my everyday life, but I throw all that energy just into hating the Packers. Like that's where it all goes. So that way the rest of my life, I can kind of be chill out here. So it is what it is. I know some people like, why do you hate other teams? All that hate has to go somewhere. For me, it goes straight to the Packers. Bob Sweet in the building. I think I mentioned that. Sarah in the building. I know, Sarah, one more week till your birthday. I'm going to remember. I'll remember. Don't worry. We'll get there. Yep. Get those hashtag Skols in here. I think we got everything. Yeah, Casey, I guess, before we jump into just the top 5 reasons why we think the Vikings could win the Super Bowl next year, anything else you got new or anything to say here?
Nothing really. Just, I mean, like, there's a lot. I mean, before you really get to next season, I mean, the whole offseason ahead, which we think could be one of the most. I mean, last season was exciting, right? Moving on from Cousins and finally getting the quarterback of the future. But this season could be even more exciting, especially pending on how this next month goes, which we'll talk about. That the franchise tag window officially opens tomorrow, going through early March. So I think we'll have an indication pretty early on if they plan on using it, and if they do use it, who are they going to use it on? And that really will, I think that's really going to open our eyes to how at least free agency is going to play out. So I don't know, there's a big off season ahead, but I like you said, I mean, do we necessarily believe the Vikings are going to win the Super Bowl next year? No. But this season, just like this last season was a lot of prove it stuff, right? Like we found out we have the right head coach. We think we have the right GM. He should get extended soon, which we'll talk about. You have all of that there, right? And you have pieces on the team that are going to set you up for the future. But this year is all about figuring out where you need the help, getting those spots taken care of, and using your draft picks wisely. In the next 4 years of this team with McCarthy on his rookie deal could be the best 4 seasons of Vikings football we've seen in a long time. So I'm excited for it. I mean, I'm ready. I was ready for this offseason to get going as soon as our season ended, but
we're getting there.
Let's jump in.
Let's do it. And yeah, I mean, that's the thing is like, I'm not going to put my money on like, oh, I think the Vikings are going to win this next season, but I'm also not saying that they can't win. It really does come down to our number one guy here that we're going to get into. And that is, let's see if we get this correct here. There we go. Right. We're getting there. Oops. And that's JJ McCarthy. So it all kind of starts and ends with him. I do think that there's a real possibility throughout this offseason we're going to get into it as we keep going, but that we can really make this team as well-rounded, as talented as any team in the NFL. As we know, the Eagles are kind of like at the top there of like the most well-rounded team. It was San Francisco prior to that. And you know, Eagles are going to lose some pieces. They're going to still be really good moving forward. They got a lot of guys there that's going to be there for a minute. So that they're always going to be something tough here. But I do think that this offseason, we have enough money. We have enough draft picks, wish we had more. And there's enough players of positions of need going into free agency and the draft that I do think we really could go into next season with a really almost like a perfectly complete team. And it really comes down to how well our quarterback plays. And as far as like, could we win a Super Bowl? It does. If that's the case and we fill all the holes we need to, if you get JJ McCarthy and he comes in here and has even close to a Jaden Daniels type rookie season or a CJ Stroud, that's asking for a lot rookie season. If he gets even close to that, you got to believe that this team could be talented enough where you could make a run. And on top of that, one thing people say, I know there's like a thing going around, like, do the Vikings, a lot of people pick us as like the team to take a step back next season. And by that, I do believe they're talking about like a record. The chances of us getting 14 wins any season are super low. But as far as do I think this team could be a team that has a better shot at winning a game in playoffs, I definitely think that could be true. And we'll find out here. But yeah, I mean, again, it all starts and ends with assuming that he's going to be the starter going into next season, how JJ McCarthy does on this team.
Yeah. And I guess, you know, the whole taking a step back thing, like, yeah, of course, like you never expect to win 14 games, but no one expected last year's team to win 14 games either. Right. I mean, it's just kind of how the way the NFL
6.5. So,
right. And next season, and I think you kind of hinted at this, like next season, the only question that we want to have going into training camp is JJ McCarthy going to take that step and be the guy for this team going forward? Can the coaching staff develop him well enough to where he has close to a Sam Darnold type season and keeps growing from that on? Like we want to we need to make sure, and I guess this is what you got to do with obviously any roster, any team in the league is gonna have this mindset.
That's crazy numbers.
But it's so basically it's just we just want to get to next season, and the only question we want to be asking is about the quarterback. We don't want to have, is the defensive line going to be good enough? Is the offensive line going to be able to protect him? Are we going to have enough corners to cover these other, because we play a lot of good teams. We're going to have enough corners, defensive backs to cover the rest of these teams' receivers. Like these are all things that Kwesi's plan with the rookie quarterback has led him to this point where now you do have money. I've seen fluctuations anywhere from 58 million up to 70 million. Not 100% sure exactly what those real numbers are going to look like, but like this is a season where Kwesi could really hit this out of the park.
Right.
And the big thing is you already have so many major big time positions locked down. So like you said, McCarthy could be walking into one of the best situations if he's, pending his health and everything for next year.
Right.
But if he could be walking into one of the best situations in the league going into next year, and it's so like you said, like we want this all to come down to, can McCarthy perform? And we really think he's going to be able to. Like, I do think the year sitting, learning, like, yeah, you didn't get the on-field reps. I understand that. But I do think him sitting back, sitting in meetings, watching Darnold play, picking the brains of the coaches and the other quarterbacks, especially Daniel Jones, who was a guy who came in as a first-round pick who had some expectations and whatnot. Like, I think all of that is going to only benefit him. Now it's just all about, can he do it on the field? Which we'll find, which we saw in the small sample size we saw. He very well seems so. And all the rumors and hints and even things O'Connell said, like, kind of hinted at, like, there's a chance McCarthy could have even started this year. So it's it's a good spot, man. It's a really good situation. And this is one guy I truly believe will take advantage of it.
Yeah, dude, 100%. What's going on? Vocal Viking in the building. The guy, Skol. Shout out the chat too. What's going on, my guy? Hey, Wednesday, we will be meeting up. We were supposed to last week. We ended up not doing it, but this Wednesday we're meeting up to get the Skol Fest stuff going early. See what we can do if we start, 3 months earlier, 4 months earlier on that process. So we're excited about that. But obviously keep y'all up to date on all those things. But yeah, just ending this with JJ McCarthy, man, is just like you said, we've seen, obviously, you can say what you want, like, yeah, like it's preseason, but everything that we've seen, all the news has only been positive. Like, there's no negative other than his injury. There hasn't been any negative. So it's like, why? There's no reason other than lowering your expectations on someone who hasn't played before. There's no reasons to think that he's going to come here and suck on probably, can't ask for a better situation to start.
So far, for what we hope happens. What we hope
happens. Because what we hope happens, what we're going to get through on our next 4 slides here. If you would have put Sam Darnold on the team that we believe we can have going into next season, we're probably easily clearing at least one playoff game this season, even if he didn't play, to his best football. But there's just too many holes on this team. And they were, obviously, we saw it against the Rams specifically, getting blown. Our offensive line getting absolutely destroyed is one. But then also seeing the impact of the Rams defensive line to our offensive line, something that we were missing throughout the year as well. So if we can shore those up, that by itself makes you feel pretty damn good about this team moving forward here. What's going on? Bleeding Purple in the building. Let's go. Again, everybody, we are giving away tons of different Viking cards. We're going to pick one winner, but it's choose your card. We got Will Rikers. We got JJ McCarthy's. We got Dallas Turner. We've got, I got Justin Jefferson's. We got some cool cards here. Whoever wins gets to pick whatever card they want. All that good stuff. So get the hashtag Skols in the comments, like the videos, and subscribe. So yeah, talking about JJ McCarthy, obviously everybody knows that's the big one. He's our number 5 because he is a question mark on this team. Anyone that's looking at this team, whether you're a media outside of Vikings fandom or not, that's kind of what anybody's coming in here and looking at us as. It's like, oh, who's their quarterback? How well they're going to play? I don't think they talk about how well-rounded this team has potential to be, but they're not in it like we are. And that brings us to number 4 here. And this is, I think, a really underrated thing about this offseason is we know what the needs are. And I talked about it about that Rams game. It was just so apparent. Like these 4 positions, it's not even a question. It's not like we need to shore up our edge rushers for sure. We don't need to shore up these other positions. Safety, I have a feeling we're going to be going into I would not be surprised if we go into next season with almost the same exact safety group. But I do think these 4 specific positions, I do believe all Viking fans know this is what we need to focus on. And there's a path to do that through free agency. There's a path to do that through the draft to go into next season with all these holes filled. And then you got to even be more, and we have the money to do it. And you got to even be more excited with the fact that we're just going to even have more money the following year and things like that. So that's a big one here, is just acknowledging what you need.
Yeah.
And we got,
I give my side. Smokey, speaking of money, dropping the $49.99 just watch a couple segments going around the league, such as First Things First. They had Tanucci on there. He's a gigantic Packers fan, and they had them in the top 5 Super Bowl teams.
Of course I do.
1 to 5 in the division. I really hate the Packers. Glaze. We feel you, Smokey. Thank you so much for the $49.99. We appreciate
you, bro.
But you know how it goes. You know how it goes. We're Vikings fan. No one gives a shit about the Vikings.
Casey feels the Packers will win the division in 2025.
I said the Packers have the least amount of changes going into next year. That's all I said. They have the least amount of changes and the worst quarterback in the NFC North.
Yeah. The Lions are going down. The Packers are staying the same. The Bears are up. The Vikings are going to be way up. And the Packers are going to be at the bottom pretty much.
Yeah. I never said win the division. I said they have the least amount of changes. And that's not, again,
Ingram going to get cut. I'm assuming
that'd be cool. And something that we will get into later, and a lot, and the big thing for me is yes, kind of knowing what your needs are, but for me, it's the brain trust is still here. Like a lot of the pieces who are gonna decide what players should be on this team and develop them into being what we need them to be. A lot of those guys are still going to end up being here, and I think that's absolutely huge. Like there's no having to rework your defense, no having to bring a new guy in who's got to who's going to change the scheme or anything. It's just, exactly what your needs are. You know what you're going to need to find to fit them into your system on both sides of the ball. And it's so clear cut. I mean, if us sitting here as just fans who talk about this team, pretty often, which a lot of hardcore fans will do, like us being able to sit here, look at this team from last year and be like, they need this, they need this, they need this, and they need that. Like if we can do that, the guys in the front office know much better. Plus, they have an idea of how this offseason is already going to play out. So, we've been seeing these players and kind of thinking about them. The front office has been thinking about this since the season ended, or even before the season ended, the scouts and whatnot. So it's like, and that's the exciting part. Like we have all the big time spots are filled. It's just, we need, like you said, we just need the trenches are the big ones. And then we're going to end up needing a couple corners probably in a running back. So it's great just being able to pinpoint exactly what you need. And look, now that we really have the money to go swing for the fences, it's a great situation to be in. Absolutely. And it's like, and people think this team's really far off. Like it may feel that way just because we don't have a ton of guys. Like honestly, like we have no corners, we have no safeties under contract. We have no interior. We have, barely any interior defensive linemen. Like it looks daunting from now, but you do have the feeling that they're going to bring back a couple of their own free agents. And eventually, once free agency really starts rolling, even maybe the next couple of weeks here, I think we're going to have a really good feeling of what pieces we're going to have, which is only going to help things. So it is nice, just the front office, like they already know what their offseason plan is going to look like for the most part.
Yeah, 100%. And that kind of gets us into number 3, which is we have the money, the draft capital. So we don't have tons of draft picks this season, but we have enough. Like that's one thing, and we can get into this later when we talk about Kwesi in general, is people just already forget that Kwesi went and put himself in the best position to go get the quarterback of the future of this team, and ultimately left the draft doing that without giving up any extra first round picks. So having an extra first round pick this year, a third round pick, hopefully something can happen for us to get more picks, whether that's trading back or somehow get that franchise tag and trade for Sam Darnold. That is seeming more and more unlikely because no one wants to talk about it. But we do have we have enough money going into free agency where we should be able to fill a lot of holes there. And I think we'll have enough picks to fill out the roster if things work out the way we want them to going into the draft. And then just the attraction to fill the needs. Like this team has been, we just came out 14 wins. We have some of the best facilities, the best culture, like we're A+. I mean, we were number 1 a year ago or 2 years ago, and then number 2 last year, whatever. There's a lot of reasons why players should want to come here outside of the fact that your septic tank might freeze like it did for Gary. So, I mean, if they come here and they have a septic tank, yeah, that might be an issue. But if not, I don't see why you wouldn't want to be a Viking and all those things. It makes you feel like you can go grab those positions of need that we talked about. And we talked about it. There's a lot of good interior offensive line and a lot of good corners going into free agency. Not as many interior offensive line that you'll find going into the draft, but then it's loaded. And like the running backs in this year's draft is completely insane, and we pretty much went through them all already. But
yeah, like this sets up, like, honestly, this draft sets up perfectly for the Vikings. So interior defensive line and running back. So deep, and in a draft where, again, we don't have a ton of picks, those two spots being as deep as they are is absolutely huge for this team.
There.
Hey, what's going on, Darren? Thanks for dropping in. But like that's the thing that I love about, like, again, it's not going to be, is it going to be the most exciting draft ever? No, because it's going to be a lot of the big boys and whatnot. But just if we can just get ourselves one or two really good defensive tackles and a good running back in this draft, I'm in, man. I'm absolutely in. And then, I mean, obviously, running back wise, Aaron Jones, they did push back the void when the void hits on the contract, which, again, doesn't necessarily mean that an extension is going to come. But it's just it's interesting to know that both sides are at least somewhat interested in striking up a new deal, to where they push that the void when the void year hits kind of back a little bit. So we'll see what happens there. But yeah, I mean, I guess, again, people like talk shit about Kwesi first off, and does he need to get better at drafting? Sure, but I mean, you have to expect going into this would be his fourth draft. Going into his fourth draft, he's learned a couple things. You can kind of tell in the years past. He hasn't gotten as much screwed over with trades or whatnot. He's found a lot of good value in those trades. So that is number one. But then a lot of people also like to kind of down on the culture, right? Like, oh, culture doesn't, I mean, you got to have more than good vibes win games, more than good vibes win a Super Bowl. And that is true, right? But for a while, when we were still working through the bad cap situation, like, the vibes and the good culture is how you brought players here. Value players that you could bring here because it's a good place to go. But now with the money that we're going to have, because there is still some moves that we can make to increase that cap space even more. But now with the money that we're going to have, like, and I mentioned it multiple times before, like the culture and just kind of like you said, like kind of the attraction to come here, like that is just a bonus. Because you can, like, it doesn't, a lot of players, it's all about money. Like, if they go to a place with shitty culture, but they're getting paid well enough, they'll go there. But now we can offer top dollar to a lot of these free agents. And then we have the kicker of just having a place where people want to play. People like being here. People, we got a great coaching staff, as you mentioned, facilities, ownership's really, really good. They're willing, like, they treat their players well. That is all just a bonus now because we have the money to go along with it. So I don't know. I'm really excited to see what this offseason brings, because I think we're going to be in the mix. Now, again, are we going to get them all? No, but I do think we're going to be in the mix for a lot of really, really, really top tier and good free agents.
Yeah, I mean, some people are starting to bring up Reed's name a lot, which will be interesting, and see what happens with Murphy. And we're going to get into all of that probably later. And then, like we talked about, giving more opinions on Kwesi later, as he has still not got extended. But overall, like, this is going to be a draft. I mean, this one's a big one for Kwesi because, yes, you know exactly what you need. And we know there's players out there to go get. So now you just got to do what you got to do to bring these guys in here, which does mean a lot.
Like, it's going to be a lot more clear cut because free agency will be done. So you will know what your team looks like without those draft picks.
Yeah. And either or, like, even if you sign Aaron Jones or extend him or whatever, sign him another year, whatever. Yeah, you got it. This is a running back draft. You got to go in there. And honestly, I'm on board with I know we only have 4 picks. Maybe we trade back and get more, which I would not hate because there's so much talent here at running backs. I would not be mad if we left with 2 of them. Obviously, if we got Aaron Jones, I highly doubt that would happen. But man, there's some studs here, which I'm really excited about this running back class. But moving on here, let me hit up JD. I cannot wait to see Kwesi Cook during this free agency. Yeah, dude, facts. Yeah. But moving on to our number 2 reason why Vikings could win the Super Bowl next year. And that's just talent at key positions. Quarterback question. We talked about it with JJ McCarthy, but you do have your future quarterback, your franchise quarterback on a rookie deal. And at least that's what we're hoping for. Still a question mark, but that spot is filled. And depending on how he plays really is the difference between us being Super Bowl contenders and actually even be a Super Bowl team in this next 3-4 years, and not. But then outside of that, you got your wide receivers are locked up. You got Justin Jefferson here for the foreseeable future. You still got Jordan Addison with a couple years left on his contract. You got Darius on that offensive line, Brian O'Neill, the linebacker group with Cashman. You still got Ivan Pace Jr. here as well. And then if you want to add in the outside linebackers and the edge rushers, I do think you need to go and figure out a way to extend Van Ginkel. But then you got Greenard for at least a couple more years. And then obviously Dallas Turner on that side as well. Like, if you were going to say what are the most important positions in football, it's probably quarterback, arguably tackle, wide receiver, edge rusher, and then probably corner that we have to figure out. So literally, four or five of the most important positions in football, we have players here for the foreseeable future. So that's definitely a massive plus here. And another reason why, if you're a free agent out there and you're trying to figure out a team to go to, why the Vikings should be an attractive team. And yeah man, what's your thoughts on that?
Because they do kind of say it's a passer and get after the passer league, right? And like you said, it's like you have your passer, you have your blind side protector for your passer, and Christian Darrisaw, who by the way was at the Timberwolves game, I believe like the game or two before the All-Star break. No crutches in sight in the picture, so it looks like things are going well with the recovery there. And then you have Brian O'Neill on the right side. You have your receivers, and then like you said, and then on the other side of the ball, you have at least Grenard and Van Ginkel who can get after the quarterback. And I really do think Dallas Turner is going to take a huge step next year. It's like you, and I would agree with you. I mean, quarterback, tackle, wide receiver, edge. Those four positions are probably the most important positions in football. And obviously,
and corner,
yes,
and corner, you'd have to put in that.
Say, yeah. But I mean, but and of course, you do need to shore up the trenches for sure. I mean, as we saw, that's kind of that was a downfall of this team in the last 2 weeks. But yeah, I mean, we are absolutely loaded at those spots. But that's the big thing. You don't need to, because look, quarterbacks are a top tier quarterback going to cost you a first round pick. For the most part, unless it's a really good wide receiver class, which we have seen, but a top tier wide receiver is going to cost you a first round pick. A top tier tackle is going to cost you a first round pick. A top tier edge rusher is going to cost you a first round pick. Like you can get a really good defensive tackle in this draft, probably in the second or third round. You can get a good running back throughout the rest of the draft, and like linebackers, you can kind of get them wherever. But it's like the major positions that would cost you your first round pick, we don't need. So you can use that first round pick on another position, or as we mentioned earlier, use that to trade back. So when it really comes down to it, this team is in an amazing spot, as we've mentioned multiple times throughout this. I mean, obviously we mentioned multiple times throughout the show so far, but yeah, I mean, your first round pick can be used basically wherever. Like there's no pinpoint position like last offseason where we knew we needed a quarterback. You don't need to use a quarterback anymore on your first round pick. So that first round pick, Kwesi literally has every option open to him. I mean, sure, there's going to be names he wants that he's not going to be able to get, but at pick 24, I think you're going to have a lot of guys you like and a lot of trade offers that you'll like as well. So yeah, man, it's just having all those positions locked down. I mean, sure, they're high price contracts. I get that, but that's the benefit of having a JJ McCarthy on this team.
Yeah, exactly. 100%. And just answering Darren here, do we draft a D tackle or do we sign Milton Williams? Obviously
both. Absolutely.
Both, if we can. I mean, I want Milton Williams, but in my opinion, like there's more talent on the defensive interior in the draft compared to interior offensive line. I think interior, like before you go and get Williams, you need to figure out that interior in free agency. I think that is priority number one. And if that's taken care, I mean, obviously you might be doing it at the same time, but I want to make sure that's taken care of. And then I would definitely go get Milton Williams. I mean, he definitely increased what he's going to be making, but I don't think he's going to be getting, the numbers that what's the kid from Miami that went to the Raiders?
The one that we liked. What was his name? I don't remember.
Yeah. He was like the guy everyone wanted. Viking fans wanted. Like, Christian.
Was it Christian?
What was it? Yeah, I think so.
Wilkins?
Christian Wilkins. Yep, that's it. It's it. Yeah. Christian Wilkins. Like, I don't think he's gonna. And I think he made like 28 mil.
Something
like that. And I don't think Milton Williams will quite make. But Milton, I mean, I'm assuming he's probably gonna make like 20 mil or something like that. So I don't know. You have to figure out. I do think you do need to figure out the interior corners. If you get Murphy, then maybe you like prioritize Milton over another corner. But still, like, I like what we saw from Milton Williams, but I just, so far, you like the fact that you know how deep this draft is, it makes me, I would love to go get him and still grab someone in the draft at the same position there. But for sure, in offensive line, I do think you prioritize that before going after Milton Williams, in my opinion.
I would say you need at least two offensive linemen. If they decide to stick with Brandel at left guard, I guess I could understand it. He had some good reps. He struggled mightily kind of near the end of the season. But it's like if they replace center and right guard, I would have no issues. If they went all three, I'd be pumped. But I think you do need at least two offensive linemen, because I could see a way in which they, I hate to say it, stick with Bradbury, but then they and just try to toughen up the guard spots next to him where they invest big time in 2 really, really good guards that they can put at those spots. I see a scenario in which that happens. If you're asking me if they could only bring in 2 offensive linemen, I would rather it be a center and a right guard and just let Brandel roll at left guard. Because I do think, like I said, I do think, especially with Darisaw back, I do think Brandel can be good enough over there. But yeah, I mean, 100% though, there needs to be something done about that interior offensive line. At least 2 guys in my mind should be new starters on that offensive line going into next year.
Gary, we'll circle back to that pretty quick here. We got Quasi on here just in general, so we'll bring that up again. But anyways, we'll keep going to our number 1. Obviously, before going there, I'll kind of do a reminder right here. Our number 5 reasons why the Vikings can win the Super Bowl next year. Not just that, but the future is looking bright for the Vikings. Number 5, JJ McCarthy, obviously big question mark. Number 4, we know what our needs are going into this offseason. We have the money, enough draft capital, and enough attractiveness for free agents to come here. And then, like we just talked about, talent at key positions. So our number 1 here is you got the 2024 Coach of the Year. You're coming off 14 wins, and you somehow retained important coaches like Josh McCown, as well as, of course, Brian Flores, a guy who should be what's going on with Flores is probably you're just super lucky. There should be a lot of people that he should be potentially a head coach for, and he's just not because of this whole legal thing, which does not generally happen as far as I know. I don't know if it's ever happened the way it is for him, where you have a guy who probably should be a head coach and he's just sitting on your team because of legal reasons. So that is huge. And this is a team that took a team that people expected to get 6.5 wins in 14, and we're retaining all that coaching. This will be the 3rd year in the row where we have the same play callers, the same defensive play callers, all that great stuff. Something that was an absolute carousel throughout the entire Mike Zimmer tenure. And even that's one thing with Kirk Cousins that people would say, he has a new offensive coordinator every single year, which is a super fair point. And this same players get the same coaches on both sides of the ball for at least 3 years in a row. Yeah. So that's massive.
And that's what I had mentioned kind of going into free agency in the draft is that brain trust, the guys that know what we need are all still in this building. And especially when you kind of, that's quite the compliment right there, by the way, looking like KOC.
KOC looks like me, boy. Skin.
I just look at the defensive side of the ball, right? Because if Flores were to have gone somewhere else, then Kevin O'Connell has to bring in a new defensive coordinator. The new defensive coordinator has to come in. He has to look at the roster. He has to watch tape. He has to figure out who he wants to keep, who he doesn't, what he likes, what he doesn't like, how he foresees the vision of this defense, what free agents he wants here. And when you have to make that transition, you put yourself behind weeks, if not a month or so, in that, and really when you can start to sit down and look at what free agents will help your team, especially then if the defensive coordinators come in and change up the scheme, where this year, like you said, everything's going to be the same scheme, same coaches, same coaching staff for the most part. I don't believe Durante Jones ended up getting poached for that defensive coordinator job in New Orleans. So it's they have everybody still here who knows what this team needs. And that, it just, again, they were able to hit the ground running right after they kind of got the feel like Flores wasn't getting a head coaching job. They got to hit the ground running, looking at what they need on this defense and how to improve it. There's no other changes that needed to be made, and that's absolutely huge.
Yeah. And whether they win the Super Bowl or not, it all really comes down to JJ McCarthy next year. But the future is super bright, which is a reason that's going to bring us into some other stuff here in a second. But again, everybody, giving away your choice of Viking cards. We got some good stuff in here, some good players. So get the hashtag Skols in the comments for your chance to win this giveaway. Like the video, subscribe if you haven't, all that good stuff. But definitely get the hashtag Skols in the comments. So this brings us, and I know Gary was already talking about Quasi and the idea of hey, what's going on, scoliosis? The idea of why hasn't he got extended? What are they waiting for? Which is kind of fair. I guess I'll start with just in general, me and you both, we think, and anyone that saw our short, we believe that Quasi should get extended. We think everything he's done outside of drafting has been pretty great. What he's done with the salary is amazing. He from an absolute shit show to what he's done, how he's handled the Kirk Cousins situation, how he's handled extending our superstar players, how obviously, I mean, he went into free agency and got got Sam Darnold for 10 million. He's about to make 40. He gets Van Ginkel for 10 million, who probably could be worth at least 25. Grenard for what? 17, 18 million, probably worth at least 25. Blake Cashman for, I forgot what his was like, what, 7 million, 6 million, 8 million, something like that. Yeah. He's probably worth at least 10 to 12 million himself a year. And so that is unbelievable. And I guess my one big gripe in this situation is, and what's going on? Purple Hef. What's going on, dude? One thing for me is like, I get it. I get how important the draft is, but, and everybody's, you see this Eagles game, you realize they did it through the draft. Immediately you're like, this is what we're missing. Like we can't keep Kwesi around. He doesn't draft well enough. Who cares what he does everywhere else? Even free agency. And people just say like, you have to build through the draft, but that's subjective. Like I get it. You're best off going through the draft and doing that. But at the end of the day, what are you really trying to do? What you're really trying to do is how are you getting the most talent, the most value for the player? How can you get the most out of a player based on their cost? How can you go and get someone that is outplaying how much they cost on your team? And the best way to do that, no question, is in the draft, right? You get a guy in the first round, you're way underpaying him. And that's the reason why that's the better option. The thing people say is like, hey, doing that in free agency is kind of like a fool's game, which I agree. Not a lot of people can go in free agency and get these really valuable players on your team for a cheaper price. But Kwesi has figured out a way to do that. He hasn't needed the draft to be successful, whether people like it or not. Like, it's subjective. Going through the draft is subjective. That's not a fact. The fact is that it's easier to do that, but it's not a must. And he's proven to do it outside of the draft. And I guess, in my opinion, I do think he has gotten better with his drafting. Obviously, if JJ McCarthy hits, no one's even having this conversation at all. No one's even if JJ McCarthy hits, no one gives a fuck about his first draft that he's had at all. Yeah. And I guess that's just like that. I think Kwesi has done an amazing job outside of just the draft, in my opinion. And then I'll let you jump in here. And I guess when it comes to like, why hasn't he got extended yet? I do think there could be a fair thing potentially. It's like, I do think he deserves to get extended. But if you can wait till after what he does in free agents, like if he goes into free agency and we leave there with Reed and whether it's Smith or another interior, like if he goes in free agency and brings back a couple players to fill those holes, immediately extend them then. But I do get why maybe you could wait a little bit, as far as like there is some obvious holes that need to be filled, and we want to see if he actually goes out and fill them first. And I guess that would be my only thing there.
But then if he does, then it's just going to cost. Then he can even demand even more money. So I don't know. It
right,
is really,
exactly.
It is a really interesting situation, and I do see what you mean by the draft. Like, yes, because there are some teams that have tried to build in free agency, and it doesn't work when you go all out in free agency. Which honestly, the core of this team wouldn't necessarily even be that, right? Like, drafted your quarterback, drafted your wide receiver 1 and 2, drafted your left tackle, drafted your right tackle. Hopefully, end up like where you drafted a lot of guys on the defense. But the big thing with the draft though is like, you definitely draft for depth is a big thing with those mid-round picks, but also at the same time, Kwesi's also proven that I don't think he really cares about those mid-round picks, because he's willing to package them up to move up and get players that he thinks are going to be impact players and not just depth in the future. So, and I do think he does go about a different way. And I do think he values free agency and being able to spend some money more than hitting on a 4th-round pick who may end up being something or may just be depth. But again, I don't know. The drafting thing is kind of a big it's a big deal, but also I think some people make it too big of a deal at times. But as long as
it's too big of a deal based on him. If he wasn't doing what he was doing in free agency, this could be a different conversation. I know T-Bass said, I see the cons outweigh the pros outweigh the con, or the cons outweigh the pros, whatever. I totally disagree. I think his only con has been the draft. Otherwise, I think he's been fantastic. Dan report letting Iowa code for basically nothing, all things not involved. The draft, that not good. Davenport in general, I'm like, you signed him it was towards the end of it. You signed him to 1 year, and then he was off the books.
Yeah.
What's that?
It was $10 million for that one. It was kind of a lot, but
yeah. I mean, he missed on.
here's the thing.
But then he got Byron Murphy for $7 million, and now he's worth 17.
Right.
He got. I mean, Andrew Van Ginkel's worth 25. Sam Darnold's going to make 4 times his money. Like, you can't. I mean, that's crazy. You missed on a 1-year rental guy. That to me, that's you didn't hurt your future by that. Right. If anything, what else were you going to do to make our team better that year? Right. And Davenport played all right, other than when he was actually on the field.
Yeah, because I mean that's the thing. Because if Davenport hits, like Kwesi looks like a genius, and that's kind of the thing that Kwesi, I think, and you can tell when it comes to free agency, that's kind of Kwesi's thing. Like he likes those. He likes those borderline good players, or like the guys that come out. Like he likes those the guys coming off their rookie contracts who have either shown it at points in their career or showed it at the end of their career, much like a Jonathan Grenard. Like Jonathan Grenard absolutely blew up that last season in Houston, came off his rookie deal. They take Danielle Hunter, who had proved it for years. We bring in Grenard on a decent contract. But the big thing with that was like everyone's like, oh, he's only had 1 year of good play. But Kwesi, using Flores's knowledge, like he trusted that he's gonna have the right guys that say like, oh no, that 1 year that he had, that's this point for him. Like he's gonna launch after that year. And what did he do? Came in with I don't think he matched what he had in Houston that last year. Double-digit sacks, how many top 5 in pressures, impact player right off the jump. Like Kwesi likes those guys who these other teams are like, nah, we can let them go. But Kwesi's like, well, you're coming off a rookie deal. You're probably not going to cost me too much, but I really think that with the right coaching, you could excel. And that's one thing Kwesi does really, really well. He's hit on how many of those free agents where it's just like those guys coming, or a veteran guy who, like a Van Ginkel, who will fit on this team nicely. It's like, I think I can finesse him into a decent contract. He wants to come play for Flores, he's going to come here and do that and play well. Like you can tell those are the guys that Kwesi goes after, the guys that were underappreciated or performed at certain points in their career that he's able to bring in and they're going to flourish here. So I think that Kwesi is just, I think he plays for agency really, really well to where he goes after those top of the second tier type players and he gets them on good contracts, and normally they come here and they produce. And that's what he was trying with the Davenport thing. It's like, it's $10 million. He comes in here. If he's good, then we hit on a guy and he can either propel us to where we need to go or we bring him back. And if he sucks, like you said, it's 1 year, he's done. We don't worry about him after that. 1 year.
Like, we weren't gonna win a Super Bowl that year anyways. Like, it didn't hurt our future. That's what I'm more worried about. And I just want to answer this real quick, because I don't think he's not perfect, but he's absolutely aced. I mean, we're talking about he comes in and we're in salary cap hell. We didn't have that much money to spend, and he's going and getting these value free agents. He's acing it. I wouldn't say it's perfect, but he's absolutely acing it. And then the fact that now this year we're going into this year with $7 million, next year over $100 million, like that matters. Like he's changed. It's not just free agency. It's also what he's done with the salary cap, and especially what he's been able to do in free agency without kicking the can, you're getting these impactful players from free agency every single year, and you got yourself out of cap hell at the same time. Like,
I mean, and you got to take some swings, right? Like when it comes to just in anything you do, like there's no one that's perfect on making investments, right? When you invest in things, no one hits on all of that. When it's just like he with some of these free agents he's bringing in, he's just taking a swing on a guy who could have potential. And the ones that really haven't shown enough, like a Davenport. Like if Davenport had stayed healthy and still been out there, he probably would have gotten a multi-year deal. But the fact that he couldn't, that's what led to a 1-year deal. And Kwesi was the one that said, hey, we'll give him a shot. And it didn't work out. But it doesn't, like, not everything is going to work out. You can still be really, really good at something without having to hit every time you do it. And that's what Kwesi has done for free agency. Is he perfect? No, he's had some misses. But they weren't misses that ruined this team for 5 years. They were misses that didn't even ruin this team for 1. They were guys that were here. It's like, it didn't work out. Move on. We'll bring in the next guy. Like, it's just that's what he's done so far. Like the hits have far exceeded the misses.
Right. And like John Lynch, 49ers GM, obviously fullback for the Buccaneers. It sounded like he was almost out the door until he drafted Brock Purdy in the 7th round. And that's the difference. Like he wasn't doing that great from drafting Ayuk at this point. I mean, that was terrible free agency, terrible extension on his part. And like, he isn't doing that great in drafting, but then he gets Brock Purdy, and then immediately all of a sudden, and now he's going to be there for a while just because of that one pick. Like, all it takes is a couple good picks, and then people act like you're good at drafting. The Eagles I would say if there's one team that just kills it, it's the Eagles. It's what's his name? Who's the GM for the Eagles?
It's Jeff Lurie, right? Howie Roseman is the owner, I think. Or is Jeff Lurie the owner? I think it's. I want to say it's. I think it's Howie Roseman. I think he's the GM.
Safety for the Bucks. My bad. Yeah, safety. But yeah. And then another thing, the biggest thing when it comes to Kwesi is just, for me, is like you can say the pros outweigh its cons. For me, that's the hard part for me. Is like, how? Because if the cons outweigh the pros, how did we win 14 games last year and we're going into a 3 or 4 year period where most fans feel like the future is extremely bright? Like we just talked about it. Like in my opinion, I've never been so excited for a stretch of football. A well planned out. You got your quarterback on a rookie contract. We've already went through the top 5 thing. You got talent all at the important positions. You have the money to go fill out the holes that you have. That's Kwesi. Kwesi has built this team that's won 14 games last year through the coach of the year, who Kwesi passed up Jim Harbaugh for. There's so many reasons. Like the fact that there's so many people out there who are like, you got right before his plan's about to take action. It's just like, okay, like I think it's time to get rid of him, only because he wasn't good enough at drafting, but he did enough to put us in a great position moving forward here and still getting 14 wins last year. That's the biggest one for me. That only means the pros had to outweigh the cons. If the cons outweighed the pros, we'd be a fucking trash team.
If the cons outweigh the pros, there would be no extension talks. It would be who's the next GM of the Minnesota Vikings going to be.
Yeah, I don't know. We wouldn't see 14 wins.
I think he's done a far well enough job that
anybody
could.
Bass, by the way, I appreciate
for a guy who had never, he wasn't in the football sphere to how many years ago, right? Came up in a different way. For a guy who didn't have that football scouting type background, what he's done is pretty damn good so far. And you just hope that he's only going to get better. He's shown he's gotten better in a lot of aspects of being a GM. And I think part of the reason the extension hasn't gotten done yet, I think they are lowballing him. Like, I think he thinks he's worth more than what they're trying to pay him. So who knows? Maybe he does go through free agency in the draft. Who knows? Maybe he even goes through the whole next season, right? And if we absolutely kill it, hit on some draft picks, hit on some free agents, much like Kevin O'Connell waiting last offseason, it's going to be one of those things where it's like, hey, you should have extended me last offseason because I cost a lot more now. So who knows? Maybe I think a big part of it could be they're lowballing him and maybe the year's not right. Maybe the money's not right. Maybe there's some language in the contract he doesn't like, but I don't know. I think he's earned it. I think it will get done, but I also wouldn't be surprised if you start to hear that they're lowballing him and he wants to bet on himself for another year. I wouldn't be surprised that happens either. So yeah. I hope it gets done though. I think it would just be better all around for the team morale, and just kind of like, I think it's fair to link Kwesi, Kevin O'Connell, JJ McCarthy kind of all together towards the end of that rookie deal, right? And then reassess when you get closer to that. I think it's 100% fair. I just don't like the idea of bringing in a new GM, because then you got to find a guy that meshes with the head coach, and who knows, maybe a GM's going to want to bring in his own head coach. I don't know. I just think with the way this team is right now, not extending Kwesi just doesn't make sense to me.
No,
unless
because
we're in pure chaos, in which
we're in a great position right now.
Yeah, do want that.
It's literally why mess with what's working? Like, it's working. We're going it like we have. It really just comes down to JJ McCarthy. The reality is, if JJ McCarthy works out, this team is going to be really fucking good for the next 3 to 4 years. It's that simple. And if it does, that's why it's like with Kwesi, Kwesi's not going to mess this up. He's done based on the books, based on free agency. He could miss he could miss draft picks in the next 3. If he does that, it'd be pretty bad. But if he's drafted the way he has up to this point, like, we have enough money, we have enough talent on the team for the next 3 to 4 years. I don't think it would be that significantly bad for us. The fact that you have, assuming JJ McCarthy works out. If JJ McCarthy doesn't work out, then yeah.
Well, and that's why, T-Bass, I get your point here, but I don't like this way of thinking, because this is the way of thinking that gets you stuck with a Kirk Cousins. This is the way of thinking that makes this team extend Sam Darnold. Like, I get it. You don't know if he's going to be good yet, but why? You don't know if he's going
to be bad either.
But then why the hell do you draft quarterbacks? Why do you bring in other players that you don't already know? Like, I don't know. I think that's, I don't know. I just don't think that way of thinking is always right. Because I think, again, that's how you get yourself stuck in really bad situations. Like, you don't know if he's going to be good. So why take a risk on drafting a quarterback in the top 10? Well, you drafted your quarterback in the top 10. So if he's not good, then Kwesi should be fired. Because if you cannot play him, then you messed up by taking him top 10. So it doesn't matter if you don't know he's good yet. You got to give him a chance to show it. And what better way to get him a chance to show it than keep this team around, bring in more players to help him, and let him just step into, as we said, the best situation he actually could be in.
That's funny. 24/7 hard on for the future on your show and show you a scenario. T-Bass, if you want to pop on, you definitely could. We only have a little bit tonight, but you could definitely pop on. The thing on top of that, the thing with the quarterback thing, it doesn't make any sense because you just take the quarterback completely. Like, no one knows if a quarterback's going to be good unless you go in. I mean, we thought
the GM. It's a decision that can absolutely ruin the GM's career.
Exactly. Or ruin one, save one, getting Kirk Cousins. Like, there's no way to do it correctly. The reality is, what is your, no matter what, no way, you don't know if you're going to draft a quarterback and he's going to be the guy that you want. Like, you don't know. But you have more control of what's going on outside of the quarterback, and all of that looks good. There's the holes that we do have, but we can go and fill those. Obviously, if we leave this offseason and we didn't get any interior offensive line, we didn't fix that, we didn't get corners, we didn't get any defensive interior guys, at that point, I'd be like, okay, you really dropped the fucking ball on this one. Yeah. And that would be fair, but there's no reason to think that that's going to happen because we haven't seen it yet. And then as far as the quarterback goes, of course, you don't know how JJ McCarthy is going to be. You never know. When you got Patrick Mahomes, you didn't know how Patrick Mahomes was going to be. You don't know, but all you can do is have everything around him to be set up. And that is exactly what it is with JJ McCarthy. Outside of the interior offensive line, as far as offense goes so far. So I don't know. I do think, I just want to do a rebuild the right way. We're doing the rebuild is
I don't know what
perfect.
Yeah, I mean, unless your plan is get rid of every high price player, trade Justin Jefferson for 2 first-round picks, trade Christian Darrisaw, but then you're the Patriots. Then you're putting your rookie quarterback out there with nothing. Like I think that's why this team was so intent on getting JJ McCarthy or a quarterback last year. Because I do seriously think with the players that they already have, I think Kwesi and Kevin O'Connell see the next 4 years as their opportunity to make some noise here. Like, I don't know. I think this is their rebuild. As they mentioned when they first got here, like this was the rebuild plan all along. And we're finally at that spot. Now people are like, oh, no, I don't like how we drafted. I don't like how we signed this guy. Get him out of here. Let's start over again. Like, huh?
Dude, the fact that they can't,
that's ass backwards.
Yeah. What was crazy is they talked about competitive rebuild, and that was kind of why you're like, ooh, I don't know, maybe you should just commit to the rebuild or whatever. But guess what? They fucking did it. We were on a rebuild last year and they got 14 wins, and now it's over. Like, we don't need a rebuild. The rebuild is over. This isn't ass backwards. What works in the NFL right now is getting a quarterback on a rookie contract and then building around getting the best talent around that quarterback that you can get. And that's how you're supposed to rebuild. That's what we did. We start that this next year. We've officially got all the talent we need around a quarterback on a rookie contract. You have to gamble the dice a little bit. Like, if you want to win a Super Bowl, that's how you do it. You gamble on your court. You no matter what, if you go get a quarterback, you're going to roll the dice on that position no matter what. And the fact that everything else is looking good, and that's what we've been saying this whole time. Like, that's why I'm like, this isn't even a rebuild. Like, the rebuild is over. Like, everything that Kwesi's whole plan has came to fruition. It's starting going into the next season, and I don't know. For me, it's still crazy that like this is the time we should not have Kwesi around or shouldn't extend him, is when he did exactly what he said he was going to do and continuing to do it. So I don't know. I don't think we need to rebuild. Like, what would we be rebuilding again? What's going on, Bill Taz?
I mean, again, unless your plan is to completely like, because the reason that Kevin O'Connell and Kwesi both came here was because this team had the pieces and a lot of young talent to compete, right? Like, if they came to this team and the cupboards were bare, then they come here and that's when they blow it up and just start over, like accumulate as many draft picks as possible and just build the team that way to where you end up. But then again, I don't know. That's not what they came here for. That's not what they saw on this team when they came here. There's too many pieces for them to completely blow it all up and rebuild it. So I don't know. I think that when they came here, this is how they wanted to do it. I think everything's going well. And in the next 4 years, if it doesn't work out, then you start over. You start from scratch there, and you go that way. But for now, I just don't see a scenario in which you don't bring Kwesi back right now, because it's never, I don't know, lame duck GMs, lame duck head coaches. It's just not. I just don't think it's the right way to do anything. I think they got to get, like, no matter what, you got to get it done. I do think it needs to happen this offseason.
Question is, does the Vikings develop well? That's a good point. We'll find out with Dallas. I mean, Dallas Turner and JJ McCarthy, obviously Addison.
Yeah, but JJ McCarthy, the fact that O'Connell got what he got out of Darnold should give you a really good feeling that he's going to be able to get a lot out of McCarthy. Defensively, we'll see. I do think that, because Dallas Turner was pretty open about it at the end of the season. I think he even mentioned himself, like, there are some things that I didn't quite know. There are some things that I wasn't, like, learning the right way in certain aspects. I know he sat down with Flores a couple times, and he said he's really going to take this offseason, take what he learned from last year, get back into the gym, get bigger, because he's only 21 years old. Like, I really do think that we're going to see a huge season out of Dallas Turner next year. I think he's figuring out the NFL game. It takes some guys some time, but I think with Flores this last year, I think he really figured it out. And I think he's gonna pop, man.
That's the hard part, though, is like draining optimism. I don't think it's optimistic. I don't get, like, we just had 14 wins. We just had 14 wins. I don't know.
What was untrue that we said so far?
And that's one thing too. And I mentioned this earlier, is like, because people, like, if you're, like, the idea of you needing to go through the draft to build a team, I've said this earlier, is subjective. Like, that is not a fact. Yes, it is the easiest way to do it. But at the end of the day, what you're just trying to do is you're trying to get the most talent, the most out of a player based on cost. Like, at its bones, when people talk about draft, you're trying to get the most out of a player based on how much he costs. And Kwesi has figured out how he so far he's done that through free agency, and he hasn't needed to do that through the draft, which I want him to do the draft. That's the way it should be. That's the way you should want it to go, because it's easier, but it doesn't mean you have to. If you can go through free agent, which no GM generally can do, but Kwesi has, if you go through free agency and you're getting valuable players that are outperforming their cost, it's not anything really different than going to the draft and doing it that way.
The Vikings foundation is, I disagree, but okay. I mean, yeah, they need an interior offensive line, but they're setting themselves up to be able to do that this offseason.
Well, not even just that. They got, I mean, how many people come in? They got the best wide receiver. They got the best wide receiver in the league. They got Jordan Addison, who, in my opinion, is a top 20 wide receiver in the league. You got TJ Hawkinson, say what you want to say, still top 5 tight end in the league. You got Christian Darrisaw, top 5 left tackle in the league. You got O'Neal, who's still up there. Like, what else would you possibly hope to have before you go get a rookie quarterback? Because I can't think of one other team. Like, name me one other team that was in a better position than what our Vikings offense is for a rookie quarterback. There isn't one. Like, one this year, the Bears, no, their offensive line was complete trash. They had the wide receivers. That's it. They had, but still not even, that's not just Justin Jefferson and Jordan Addison. You got, I mean, Washington, their wide receivers they got McLaurin. Their offensive line is all right. Their running back is pretty weak. I mean, Bo Nix. Yeah, no one, I mean, there's not a single one that's even close to the talent that the Vikings have on their offense. You can't wait forever to get a quarterback.
I just think there's some Vikings fans that want things to happen, so they're just in that perpetual state of wanting the team to be better and being able to complain about it. I think there are some teams that they just don't like to look at what the team has and try to be optimistic about it. They're so jaded that they just want to sit here and they just want to be like, well, I want this to happen because we're not in the right spot and we're not doing this. And like, you just want to live in that perpetual anger and disappointment in your football team, so you have something to complain about. I don't know why. I probably
you're our guy, T-Bass, and we appreciate you in here and challenging us and stuff like that. But I do have to say I totally disagree. I think I have never been so optimistic for this team, especially depending on what we do in free agency and this year's draft. And I really feel good about JJ McCarthy, and I do think he has the offense that you couldn't ask for a better surrounding cast for an offense for a rookie. I mean, there's not a lot of offenses in the NFL in general that is as complete as ours, let alone for a rookie.
Yeah, I don't know. I think mean, I don't know. I think we've said our point enough on here. Like, get Kwesi extended. This team's heading in the right direction.
I know you're going to hit on this, which me and Casey kind of we're kind of difference on this, but he gave up a fortune for Dallas Turner and has no pack. I agree. So I agree with you, Belta As. I do think that Dallas Turner could turn into who we want him to be, but so far he didn't produce what you paid for him, and what expectations were from fans, from coaches. Obviously, I know. I already know. Me and Casey had this conversation, so I know I'll let him talk. I'll let him do his opinion instead of talk for him.
I mean, yeah, again, yes, you would like him to have more impact in his rookie season. 100% get it. But they brought him here. They traded up to get him, knowing that they already had two staples at that spot, Jonathan Grenard, Andrew Van Ginkel, and they had Pat Jones, who they really liked, who started off hot, obviously fizzled near the end. And Dallas Turner, I know everyone likes it, Jared Verse. Jared Verse is 3 years old. Jared Verse, 3 years older. He played college. I think he had like 5 years worth of college experience between some junior colleges and Power 5 FBS or regular college football. Dallas Turner came in 21 years old, having to learn. And again, he's not a 4-3 edge. He's a 3-4 outside linebacker who needs to come in, learn coverage responsibilities, which we saw in interception. There's so much more that he has to focus on in this defense. Yeah, maybe he learned a little bit slow. That's very possible. Maybe they wanted a bigger impact than he didn't. But they drafted him damn well knowing that the kid's 21 years old, not even at his prime yet. And this was a great season for him to sit. He didn't have to get out there and learn. He could develop behind the guys that we already had here, which we saw. We didn't need to pull him or put him on the field often. Like, it's just, and he had some splash. He had 4 weeks in a row. He had splash plays that were big impacts in those football games. So, look, yes, you would have loved to see more from him this year, but yes, and a first round pick, you shouldn't have to bring him in to develop them. It shouldn't be a process a lot of times. It should be, especially a guy that was highly touted as the best defensive prospect in this draft. But I don't know. I just don't. I don't know, man. I just don't see it. I don't know.
Soft volume.
Mine or him?
I hear you all right. How was mine? Usually I'm too loud, so it could be me.
Yeah. I don't know. Yes,
yours is back.
You would love Dallas Turner to have had a bigger impact, but I do truly believe that they brought him in to develop him. When eventually Van Ginkel's gone, he can step in and do and play that role well. There wasn't a need for him to come in and be an impact player.
Yeah. And I think it is a fair statement, like, regardless. How many people here, like, because I would say the same thing. Like, the media, he was the favorite to win Defensive Rookie of the Year. The expectations were really high, and you could have argued that it was unfair. Those expectations were unfair for them to be high for a 21-year-old prospect, whatever. But you did trade for him. Based on all of that, he didn't meet expectations that were super high. But that doesn't mean he can't be a really good player. And he is behind. Like, there's so many scenarios, the reason why he didn't break out the way people were hoping for him. But I also do think you can't also say that Dallas Turner is going to be a really great player, because we also do not know that. We don't know that. So it's like both is right.
You really can't say any player coming into the draft is going to be a great player, because you don't know, because they haven't played an NFL game. So
but guys like Jared Verse, you can. Yeah, it is. Too evil.
Jared Verse in a 4-3 that needed an edge rusher to
appreciate start. You, which he's good. So, but he's an example of, like, now you can tell, like, more than likely he's probably going to be a productive player after his first year. It does happen. Jaden. I mean, you even then, though, like, you've seen players come in and have a really good rookie season, and then, like, aren't that great afterwards. Hold on, I'll read this real quick. Thank you, Too Evil. The prophecy will be fulfilled. Aaron Rodgers will be the Vikings quarterback. Fire Kwesi into the sun if he fucks up this next draft. Sign Wentz. Kwesi's a bad. Sorry, bro. I don't know. I agree. I disagree. He's bad. He hasn't been great at drafting. Has been really good at pretty much everything else, in my opinion. And he set us up for a super bright future in the next 3 to 4 years.
Like he's strong-minded. Like, he basically told Kevin O'Connell, like, no, Kirk Cousins, we'll give Kirk Cousins this much money, but as soon as if he asks for anything more than that, we're just going to let him walk. Like, I do feel like, and I think I heard they were talking about it on the radio this morning, like, he wants, like, his dream is his vision is a team with a rookie quarterback, or a quarterback on his rookie contract. Like, that is his vision. And like, and that's a big reason why I do not think that he's going to step away from that and give Darnold $40 million a year. Like, I think he's going to be the voice of reason in this. Be like, here's what we're doing, and we're going to stick to that plan. And we're going to roll with it. Like, that's like it's a big thing. Like, because obviously O'Connell wanted Cousins back big time, where Kwesi was the one that stepped in and just said, I'm sorry, it's just not happening. We're moving on.
Dude. And that's a big. Huge positive. Those are those things that like matter. Like, and look there's half the fan base was talking shit about Kwesi because he didn't re-sign Kirk Cousins last year. And now look at Kirk Cousins. He's not even a starter on a team right now. Like, that's huge for Kwesi to make that decision to move on from him. So those are the little like that. You can't just expect someone. People just say like, well, Kwesi got us up to this point. They're all set up to be good. So now let someone else come in who can draft. It doesn't. First off, the person coming in who you don't know he's going to be good at drafting. Second off, he probably could fuck up everything else that Kwesi has built up to this point, which is good. Coming off a 14-win season.
Right. But then also like that next GM comes in. Like that next GM comes in and maybe he has a whole different plan for how he wants to build the team. And then again, you're totally restarting restarting your draft process by like, well, no, I don't like this guy. I don't like this guy. We got to find a way to get this guy's on big money. We got to find a way to get rid of him. I don't like the way you guys are doing it. Like, there's going to be a guy that comes in and wants to change everything. It's just, it just doesn't make sense not to keep him around for at least another 3 years, just through the through the end of rookie McCarthy's rookie quarterback deal. Yeah. So,
and T-Bass, you got to hope, right? Like, what are you supposed to do? You can't just guarantee every single player on your team, especially if that's not even how you win Super Bowls. Like, if you win a Super Bowl, you have to take chances on some players at important positions, and you need them to succeed outweigh what their cost is, right? I talked about it earlier. That's like the whole game we're playing here is how can you get valuable players who outweigh their cost? The only way to literally do that is to get players that you are hoping is good. Like, if you know that they're going to be good, it's probably because they're getting paid like they're good. Like, Justin Jefferson isn't considered valuable anymore, even though he probably still plays his contract. But that's the big game we're playing here. That means you need hope. The fact, like, of course, like we brought it with Mahomes. Like, you didn't know Mahomes was the 10th pick, right? I believe he was the 10th overall pick or 11th overall pick. So you didn't know he was going to come in and be Patrick Mahomes. And he was. You need to have hope here. You need to have hope.
Well, because
some positions.
Because that was the one thing that kind of held Mahomes back, like from his draft spot, was that people didn't know how his game was going to translate.
Yeah, and you don't know that, but that's what you need. Like, especially at the quarterback position specifically. Like, you need to go take a chance on a quarterback. Those are the guys, Josh Allen, top 10, Patrick Mahomes, top 10. I mean, we saw Jaden Daniels last year. Lamar Jackson wasn't a top 10. He was a first-round pick. But you're just going to have to take a gamble. It's impossible. If you know exactly how good your players are going to be, then you're overpaying them probably, because those are the people that get paid what they're worth. You need to get the players that aren't paid what they're worth and play better than what you're paying for them.
Yeah.
Is something else. But that's what we with no kid. Yeah. I mean, it's like the facts is of this team is you have the best wide receiver in the league. Facts. Darisaw, he's injured, but he's one of the best left tackles in the league. Facts. Jordan Addison has proven to be one of the better wide receivers in the league. Facts. Andrew Van Ginkel, Grenard, Cashman, great signings last year. Pivotal parts of this defense. Facts. Like, the facts is we have players on this team that people will trade up for. Justin Jefferson, people would easily trade first-round picks. A starting left tackle, people go years without finding one of those, just like quarterback. Those are absolute facts. Now, the big question marks is going to be the quarterback, and hopefully we get those concrete evidence as soon as this next coming up year. But this is how you got to play this game. Like, this is like everybody. That's why I didn't want Sam Darnold to get extended when he was playing good, because I knew we had to take a chance on a rookie contract if we really felt like we wanted to win a Super Bowl someday. But then the other people are like, oh, we don't want to take that chance. You already know Sam Darnold's good. why not do that? Because Sam Darnold wasn't good enough to beat Patrick Mahomes or beat an Eagles team with holes on this team. And that's just the biggest difference to me is like when it comes to the quarterback position, what I've learned, you got to take the gamble there and do whatever you can to get them as much talent around that player as you can so it gives them the best chance to succeed. And that is exactly what we're doing because of Kwesi. Like, I don't know. I love what Kwesi has done up to this point from a strategical standpoint. And a lot of players that he has brought from a drafting standpoint, I don't believe that, but everything else has been good in my opinion to this point where we got a rookie quarterback on the contract and he has studs around him.
Right. But anyway, one of the decisions he's going to have to make early on, even as, obviously, even as his negotiations go on for his contract, is the franchise tag. The window does open tomorrow going through March 4th. And really, when it comes down to the franchise tag, there's two names people are hearing. The first one, of course, being Sam Darnold. Full franchise tag, $41.325 million. Transition tag would be a little over $35 million. And then, of course, Byron Murphy Jr. at corner. Franchise tag, $20.3 million. Transition tag, just a hair over $17 million. So really, it comes down to those two players. You get one tag overall to use in the offseason. So what are you thinking? Do you think they use it? And who do you think they use it on?
I'm going to say my gut. So I guess I'll just give my take real quick. My gut is they franchise tag Sam Darnold and then they extend him for the next 4 or 5 years.
And then obviously, and then I watch you jump out a window, and I'm like, oh.
And then I'll watch out the window, and that'll be the last time I'm on this podcast. No, I definitely don't think they do. We've felt that way. Like, it was crazy that there's so many other media outlets, but they don't know. They're not as deep into the Viking stuff as us or the rest of you in here to understand why it doesn't really make sense to give Sam Darnold an extension or a franchise tag at this point. Franchise tag, maybe. If you're worried about JJ McCarthy's health, I guess. But anyway, so I don't see that happening. I think Byron Murphy is the most likely one. The thing with him, two things, is he's projected to get around like 16, 17 million a year regardless. And if we were to franchise tag him, it would cost him 20 million a year. So we would be paying him more money. Obviously on that franchise tag, we can franchise tag him, figure out an extension later. I think most fans want him to get extended to some extent. For me, I am on team like extend him, but I also am probably more wary than other people. I'm not convinced. I didn't think he played well in the first half of the year. I think he played really well the second half of the year. It makes me a little nervous to give him 17 million a year. So I would probably rather us go that route, but I could see why you would franchise tag him, even though you're paying him 3 to 4 million for next year more than he deserves. But at least you're not committing long-term to a guy that has, half a year of really good football. In his career. He had a couple games for the.
I mean, we saw a team that did that. Now they're stuck with Jordan Love as their quarterback for the next 4 years.
Yeah, exactly.
There is a little bit of risk there, but
exactly.
I agree. Like. Again, franchise taking Sam Darnold only makes sense if A, he's going to be your starter this year for sure, or B, if you already have a tag and trade worked out, which I really don't know if that's going to end up being the case. We'll see. But yeah, I mean, if I'm going to use it on one player, I'm also probably going to pick Byron Murphy. You can do the transition tag route, which is 17 million, which means, it's non-exclusive, so other teams can negotiate a contract with them. And then if they do agree to one, you can match it. So even if let's say someone offers him, let's say he signs a contract for $15 million a year for 3 years, and we like that, we can match it. Well, that's the contract we signed him for. So I don't know, but 20 million, I guess it all depends on how you really want to play this free agency. If you're going to be aggressive, I don't know if you want to have the risk of having that full 20 million hit this year. Cause I don't know if you can, someone correct me if you know, I don't know if you can do void years on a franchise tag to where you spread out the cap hits. I'm not sure. I don't know if you can do that. But otherwise, I mean, But the franchise tag is fully guaranteed. At least if you sign an extension, you can take a lot of the money into a signing bonus, and give them very little this first year, and then maybe a bigger amount next year. Then that third year could just kind of be a year you just kind of rip up, and it's a minimal, pretty minimal dead cap hit if you get to that point. And then maybe put some void years on the back of that are really cheap. So I guess I don't really, you can't do void years on a franchise tag. Okay. So all that $20 million would be hitting this year. to where if you sign him to an extension, like I said, you can push some of that money out for the next 2 years after the first year, and then in some void years after that. So again, if I think they would franchise tag him if they don't want any other teams getting into his ear. They would take the risk of having to take on that full 20 million for next year. But I don't know. But yeah, but if they feel like they could get a deal done, and they want to make sure that they're the only ones that can negotiate with him in that early portion of free agency, and honestly, even through all of free agency, then I would understand the franchise tag. But of course, that does come with the risk of a full $20 million cap hit coming this year. So it'll be interesting, man. And that's the only way I see it happening. I don't see him using it on Darnold, and I do use him. I could see them using it on Murphy if they don't feel like an extension is going to get done before free agency starts. Because if they want to make sure they have that full time window, then they might do it to be like, you're going to be here next year for sure. But also, we're not coming to a deal now, but we want to at some point here. So it'll be interesting, man. It'll be really interesting to see what direction they decide to go if they decide to use either of those tags. And that really is the first big domino to fall here, honestly, especially as it pertains to the quarterback spot.
And yeah, I believe that we should be getting the 3rd round comp pick for sure. It sounds like we should. I'd be very surprised if we don't get one. I'd be like, that's some bullshit. Someone got me way too excited. But no, we should definitely get that. That's a hard part. And I see a lot of your guys' comments here about I'm not wasting 20 mil for a 1-year rental.
That's a risk. That's a risk you got to take.
Right. That's a risk you got to take. And that's the thing with Byron Murphy Jr. is I would honestly say if we passed on him, if we passed on him and we didn't get other corners, like they're bringing up Ward. Like if you ask me if we could get Ward and DJ Reed or DJ Reed and Byron Murphy, I'm taking the Ward and Reed all day long. I do think there's a real possibility that Murphy doesn't play up to $17 million a year, or he plays better than that. Who knows? But so far throughout his career, he's 27 years old. He could be really breaking out. I wasn't huge on what we saw from him in the first half. And I do think, so if we did pass on the idea of Byron Murphy Jr., I wouldn't be that disappointed. I would get it. But if we did that and if we didn't get any other corners, then I would be like, okay, that's stupid. Yeah. You might as well just did it anyway. Well,
but again, to me, the big thing that I do like about Murphy is the fact that he just knows, like if you let him go and you bring in a Ward and a DJ Reed, then these two guys are still having to learn the defense. To where at least if you come in,
I'm just not convinced Murphy's as good as that.
Byron Murphy, you're gonna have Murphy and you're gonna have Murphy and you're gonna have Blackman, who both know the defense. Then DJ Reed's gonna have to come in and learn it. And so you have one new piece instead of two.
Yeah, which is fair.
It's a big important. It's an important spot for the team to figure out, because as of right now, Mekhi Blackman and Dwight McGlothern are the two corners of name that we have on this roster next year.
My money is we do not franchise tag anybody unless there's some sort of like agreement for sure, as far as like an extension or what. I don't even see it for Byron Murphy. But with Sam Darnold, I'm not giving hope on the idea. I'm never giving hope on the idea of a franchise tag and trade. Not giving hope until we know for a fact. So I'm just gonna hold that one in my pocket a little bit. But my guess, we do not end up franchise tagging any player on this team.
Yeah.
So
I would agree.
Is ready, and then Black. Yeah. And hopefully that's the thing, but that's why Murphy is. You're taking a gamble paying him. It's a gamble paying him $17 million a year, especially it's on if it's like 3 years, $17 million. To me, that is a gamble, but it might be one you just need to take, and that's just the reality of it. Like, you might have to. We need good players on this team, and then like this is the time to win. Like that's what we've been talking about the whole time. Is up to this point, whether you like Kwesi or not, like everything is put in position to now we need to be contenders. Like it is contender window time. So yeah, it's important. But we're about to give away one of these cards. If you win, you get to pick which cards you want. So get the hashtag Skols in the comments, like the video, and subscribe if you have not already. All that good stuff.
Yeah. Absolutely.
Depends on what the inflation, which is true, because there's like even the Kirk Cousins worst contract ever when we signed him, and then like 3 years later, and it looked like we had him for a really good deal. That's something not a lot of people talk enough about when it's just so easy to say like that deal was terrible when like, oh, wait 2 years and now that deal is like he's worth it at that point. Where's the other hats? Two people. You need one of these hats, dude. Got this one. We need this team to turn around. Well, they've been doing all right lately, but we need Ant to hit some big shots. Hey, appreciate you popping in, Delton. Kirky Cousins is headed to Cleveland. I see Giants I've seen on the radar. Jets I've seen. Haven't even turned. That's good. That's good. I always forget that Sarah she always comes in with some heat. DJ Reed, how much do you all those guys? DJ, I'm guessing DJ Reed will be at least 20 mil. Milton, I'm guessing because of the Super Bowl. I don't know for sure. I can't tell you for sure. I'm DJ not confident.
But they're projecting DJ Reed like 14 to 15.
Really?
Yeah.
Less than Murphy?
Yeah. I mean, he's not like an elite corner or anything. He's really good, and he's a little small.
Yeah. Yeah, but he has more. But that's the thing is like Murphy he had I mean, he had a half of a good season with like
numbers, man. It's the turnover numbers.
I know, but
they inflate a lot of things. They inflate a lot.
But if you watch the games, a lot of those interceptions in the beginning, because that's what we said, that was the argument, were like right to him, which they were. But ever since we said that, he had a couple really big interceptions. Yeah. So it's like he played like a great cornerback at the end there, like he did.
But there is something that can be said about right place, being a corner who is in the right place at the right time, like putting yourself in those spots to be able to get those wide open interceptions. Like there is something to be said about those guys that just always seem to be around the football when turnovers happen on the field.
Yeah. So I don't know. It's going to be an interesting one, but once again, at least I'll say it. Not everyone's going to believe it, but in Kwesi, we trust.
I'm on.
This is going to be a big one. Yeah. That's what's a good thing is like, even if he didn't get an extension this year, like this offseason is such a big deal. I feel like that.
Who knows? Maybe he go harder.
Make or break a route.
Maybe if he didn't get his extension, maybe he's going to go harder this offseason. Like
really all the money. Just puts us into. Yeah. How confident are you that we pay what Murphy and Bynum is worth?
No. What? Both of them? No.
Both of them? Bynum, I don't like how much he can't be worth. Like he didn't do anything to really heighten his money this past season. So I don't think he's going to really cost that much. Murphy, are you that to pay what Murphy? Murphy is the one that I question. But I mean, we need corner. We're like desperate for corners. More desperate than any other position because we have none. So we do need that figured out.
Yep. But
yeah, it's going to be interesting. All right. Anyways, let me bring up. Boom.
I wanted Trey Smith, but give me two people. Yeah, get like a Mekhi Becton and then one of those. Yeah, one of the other kind of lower cost guards. I'd be cool with that.
All right, everybody, I'm giving away any of these cards. Like I said, Will Riker, Dallas Turner, JJ McCarthy's. Like I said, there's a Kyrie Jackson in here. I got Justin Jefferson. I got a bunch of cards here, and I dropped some. Oops. All right. Anyways, let's get it rolling. Drawing the first name. 3, 2, 1. Boom. And we got two-toned.
Still here, buddy? It's been a minute.
I am paying. Bynum should not be getting 13 mil, right? What's his projection at? I was thinking like 8 mil.
I don't know if they have his projection yet.
I want to see. He can't. I like him. Yeah, I like him, but I don't think he played like like a $13 million safety. I would not pay him over. I don't pay him over $8 million. Like
Spotrac projects Bynum could earn $53 million over 3 years, $17 million per season.
Yeah, hard pass, super hard pass. What did he do? I like him, but
the play on the field
wow,
is
that's
cool.
crazy.
The dance moves are amazing. Like those are always fun to watch. Like I get that, but
I do not see that if we pay. I could not.
Yeah,
that's crazy. I would have been like half that.
This is just Google's AI overview of what Spot Rack says. I don't know if it's 100% trustworthy.
And
or
safeties,
not,
they don't make as much money as like if you were gonna say what like he's not a top. That's like a. He's probably not even a. I don't even know if you say he's a top 20 safety in the NFL right now.
Yeah, I don't know.
We'll see. Crazy, I trust. Crazy, I trust.
Doesn't look like seeing any two-toned. Oh no, there he is. I missed you. He's here. Cool. I missed that. All bad. It's cool for the.
I know that's the thing is the stuff with Theo. The stuff with Theo Jackson is the thing that hey, Barbara's here. Is the thing that was like making me think we wouldn't bring Bynum back. There's no way we pay both of them. That would be crazy. That would actually.
Yeah, it's going to be.
I'd way rather pay Murphy for that price for his price than Bynum for his.
Yeah. Again, if that's I couldn't find it anywhere else.
True.
But yeah.
JD. Let's go. Whoops. Like I'm cool with the dancing and stuff, but not at that price. His dance moves weren't that impressive.
PFF puts him at like 40. It says 42.8 million over 3 years, which I can't do the math on that.
42.
But it's definitely not.
What's
that? I mean, a little over 10 a year. That would be.
Yeah, that still seems like a lot. I feel like 8 million sounded like about right, and I still thought that was kind of a lot. Yeah. Scoliosis, you're still in here, I believe. I forgot to put everyone on timeout. Scoliosis, are you here? I think it wasn't too long ago. I thought.
No, it was about a minute ago, so I'm sure he's still here. Oh, there he goes.
You got it. Oh, there he is.
He's in. We got him.
All right. Scoliosis. Last one. Last pick magic. Last pick magic. What we got? Gotta be here. Boom. 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 Bleeding purple. What up, Mike Sullivan? Mike Sullivan, you might have been too late. You had a apostrophe in here.
I don't know if Bleeding Purple's here, though. It's been a minute.
Bleeding Purple, are you here? Bleeding Purple, you're always here.
Always here. All right, we're good. We're good.
Here.
Full slate.
All right, let me hop over here. All right, we got the names here. Two-Tone, Barber, JD, Scoliosis, and Bleeding Purple. 45 seconds. 9 for the future franchise quarterback of the Minnesota Vikings, or the franchise quarterback of the Minnesota Vikings. That's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. It's Purple Duck. What do you think?
Purple Duck, two regular ducks. What's that, like Professor Duck?
Professor Duck, Bear. Yeah. And Bear Duck.
Hold it.
I think this works. All right. 3, 2, 1. And we're off. With Scoliosis taking the early lead here.
Pretty even.
Bleeding Scoliosis, Bleeding Purple. Barber's chilling in the back. You got JD chilling there, two-toned. Anything could happen at this point. All right, everybody's coming back. Anything can happen. As long as I go off screen again. Scoliosis is going off screen. Oh, he did it.
Not all the way off screen.
He bounced back.
Oh,
he bounced back. Barber really bounced back. It looking like Barber. It's Barber. It's Barber.
That was a huge jump by Barber there. My God.
Barber. Last duck wins. It's that.
Right.
Get your ass out of there. Barber, what are we thinking, dude? Oops, making you bigger. Is there a player in specific that you're looking for, Barber?
If I were you, I would definitely go with Will Reichard. Hey, thanks for hopping in, Darren. See you next Monday. Next Monday, we'll be right back here for you. Thanks for hopping in.
Oh, the Barber. Hey, that's a fake. Wait, that's the fake Barber. Wait, what? What do you mean the fake Barber? I want a Quasi rookie card. I don't got one of those.
What do you? I mean, you already kind of read through them, huh?
Yeah, Barber, I got JJ McCarthy. I know you have that. Will Riker, Dallas Turner. We got some like colored ones of these players too, though, which is a bigger deal. I already gave you a Kyrie Jackson. It'd be like the same one, anyways. I got a Harrison Smith numbered card. TJ Hawkinson disco, JJ Justin Jefferson parallels. What do you say? Gift it to someone in the chat. Gift it to someone in the chat. I want a Bo Richter. I don't have any Bo Richter. Give someone in the chat. How should we do that?
I have no idea.
I should have kept the duck race up. I could have gave it to whoever came in second. All right, I'm just gonna do. I'm gonna
one random spin on the wheel.
Yep, on the regular wheel. That's how we're gonna do this. So I'm gonna put. Let's do. Let's see. What should we do? I'll just keep it. I'll keep it the same. Actually, you know what? We'll go JJ for this one. Hashtag JJ. Doesn't matter. All right, everybody in here. Hashtag JJ in the comments.
Whoever gets drawn
wins. Whoever gets drawn wins wins a card. Get them hashtag JJs in here. Too Evil came in hot. He was the first one to put JJ in there. All that excitement. That future quarterback of the Minnesota Vikings. Plus, that is going to be my kid's name as well, which I think I've mentioned before.
Is it actually?
Yeah, I told you that.
I don't think
it's gonna be like a nick. He's gonna have the same name as me, but his nickname is gonna be JJ. Like I'm a James. I'm James. Go by Jamie. He'll be James. Go by JJ. Even though and his middle name is not gonna start with a J, so it doesn't make really logical sense. But whatever. It's a nickname, anyways. We'll give it hashtag Skols. We'll give it till 7:35. 7:35. Everybody in here, get the hashtag JJ's in here. If you win this card, you will, well, not just card. You will be able to choose the player you want. That I do have. All that good stuff. Norris, you don't hate JJ, do you? We'll wait till 7:34. Sounds good, Barber. We'll pick someone here. We'll wait till 7:34. Does everyone got their hashtag JJs in here? Everybody that's in here? How many people we got in here?
19 people. 9.
Just here for the good content, not like the video. And to like the video? Appreciate you, JD. JD, you've been here since like the beginning, actually. Honestly.
Yeah.
All right, let's run this thing. Think we're ready. Last one. I'll give it one more chance. Chance to win any of these cards. Hashtag JJ in the comments. We're going to run this thing. All right. Entries 9.
Only
3,
9, huh?
2, 1. Who's today's winner? Let's go. Let's go. And we've got boom, boom, boom. FT Matty. My guy. Well deserved. FT Matty. Who are you looking for? Facts, JD. Facts. What card? Who are you looking for, FT?
McCarthy? I'm sure. I assume you have McCarthy
You
in there, right?
you want a McCarthy? Okay. Here, let me grab I'm gonna pull a few McCarthys for you. Let's see. This one's kind of cool. This one's a colored one. Sure, I'll do these. Bring up these three for you. Let's see. Do I have any other ones? Yeah, we'll just go with these ones, I think. All right, so we got this. Okay. All right, so I have these ones. I don't know if you have this one. This is the Gridiron Kings, one of my favorite ones. This one's actually super cool. I probably should have did this one by itself, to be honest. This is the JJ McCarthy rated rookie on the purple, aka color match. So obviously the color matches his jersey. So this is a really cool one. And then I also got this JJ McCarthy Portals, where it's like half Michigan jersey with the Vikings helmet.
Kind of cool.
But yeah. So whichever one that you're feeling, I would say, if you're gonna ask me which one's, this one's the chances are kind of slim to get the same color as the jersey, and it is colored. Colored in general would be less. Yeah, the downtown would be so sick. I know. I want to get a really nice JJ McCarthy. The second one showed. Which one was that?
I think that
purple.
Was the purple. I think it was
the purple one.
Yep, I think it was that. Yep, it was that.
Oh, purple.
The purple one. Yep, I think that's the one.
Perfect. FT, Matt, obviously I got your information, but yeah, I'm trying to get a really good JJ McCarthy. I should have done it when Sam Darnold was going crazy, because I bet you McCarthy's value probably went up since now he's going to be our quarterback. Pulled a JJ. Ooh, dang. Pulled a JJ 9 out of 10. Dang, pulled a JJ 9 out of 10 on rookies and stars. Dang, let's go. I think I already showed it on here. I pulled a 1/1 Baker Mayfield auto out of a hobby box that I won from a fantasy league.
I want to lock
which is crazy.
Clone your own, make your own JJ McCarthy. But anyway, anything else?
He seems like a guy that probably would like donate his locks or whatever.
Maybe.
He'd probably do that. His hair is probably out there.
I'm sure.
But yeah, anyways.
Yeah, but anyway, thank you guys so much for joining us tonight. We'll be on here next Monday. Make sure to join us then. And yeah, we'll see you guys next time.
Go Vikes.